Tonight, we journey to a time when love was literally a matter of life and death, where a single glance could spark quests across kingdoms, and a silk ribbon could hold more power than a sword. Imagine courtship so intense, so ritualized, that modern romance would seem almost casual by comparison. In medieval Europe, love wasn't just an emotion, it was an art form with rules so complex they could drive you mad. So settle in as we unveil these shocking traditions. Before we begin, take a deep breath and let yourself settle into the story. Perhaps dim the lights, get comfortable, and allow your mind to drift back through centuries. If you enjoy these gentle journeys through history's intimate moments, consider subscribing to Hearts and History. We explore love's tender expressions across time, crafted to ease your heart and mind. Now, close your eyes and let us carry you to medieval Europe, where passion followed rules as intricate as any cathedral. Chapter 1: Prelude to Passion. The sun hangs low over a medieval fair, casting golden light across wooden stalls and cobblestone paths. Merchants call out their wares while minstrels tune their lutes. But beneath this cheerful bustle lies something deeper, something that would shape how we understand love itself. Here, among the bustling crowds and flowing banners, the tradition of courtly love takes root, transforming simple attraction into something sacred, something that demanded everything of those who dared to feel it. The fair stretches before us like a tapestry come alive. Colorful pavilions flutter in the evening breeze, while the scent of honeyed wine mingles with wood smoke. Nobles in rich velvets move gracefully between the stalls, their every gesture calculated and meaningful. This isn't just commerce or entertainment. This is theater, and the most important drama unfolding here isn't on any stage. It's in the careful dance of glances between lovers, each look a declaration, each pause a promise. Watch as a young knight approaches the silk merchant's stall. His hand trembles slightly as he selects a length of azure ribbon, not for its beauty alone, but for its meaning. In this world, every color whispers secrets: blue for faithfulness, red for passion, white for purity. The merchant smiles knowingly as coins change hands, for he understands this isn't merely fabric being purchased. It's a message, wrapped in tradition, that could change two lives forever or destroy them both. Chivalry? The word conjures images of armor and tournaments, but its true power lay elsewhere, in the quiet moments when a knight would spend hours composing a single poem, in the way he would lower his eyes when his beloved passed, in his willingness to endure impossible tests just to prove his devotion. This wasn't the rough passion of common folk. This was love refined into art, love that demanded perfection, love that could elevate a soul or utterly consume it. The principles of courtly love weren't suggestions, they were commandments carved in the heart of every noble who dared to feel. First, love must be given freely, never forced. Second, it must remain secret, shared only through coded gestures and hidden meanings. Third, the beloved must be placed above all earthly concerns, above comfort, above safety, even above life itself. And finally, the love must remain forever unattainable, for only in yearning could it maintain its sacred purity. As twilight deepens over the fair, we glimpse the elaborate rituals that governed these impossible romances. A dropped handkerchief wasn't mere clumsiness, it was invitation. A flower placed just so in a window meant meet me at midnight. And should a lady accept a token from her admirer, she wasn't simply being polite. She was entering into a contract written in the language of the heart, one that could bind both souls in ecstasy and torment for years to come. The tests of valor weren't about proving strength, They were about proving worthiness. Imagine being asked to retrieve a single white rose from a garden guarded by your beloved's father, or to compose a ballad so moving it could make angels weep, or to stand vigil outside her window for 7 nights in the snow, never speaking, never approaching, just bearing witness to your devotion. These weren't acts of love, they were acts of worship, and the beloved wasn't just a woman, she was a goddess to be served. The gifts exchanged between lovers carried meanings lost to our modern world. A ring didn't simply mean engagement, its metal, its stone, even the finger it adorned all spoke in symbols. Emeralds for hope, sapphires for faithfulness, rubies for passion so intense it bordered on madness. And woe to the lover who chose incorrectly, for a misunderstood gift could end a courtship as quickly as it began, or worse, it could brand you as crude, unworthy of such refined affection. Music drifts through the evening air as troubadours take their places near the central fire. Their songs aren't mere entertainment, they're instruction manuals for the heart, each verse teaching the proper way to suffer for love, the correct manner of pining, the appropriate degree of despair. Young nobles listen with rapt attention, memorizing not just the melodies, but the emotions. For in this world, even heartbreak must be performed with grace. Even longing must follow prescribed forms. The emotional weight of these practices settles over the fair like evening mist, for beneath the elegant rituals and poetic gestures lies something raw and desperate. Imagine loving someone you can never truly have. Imagine your entire identity bound up in serving an ideal. Imagine the constant tension between desire and duty, between passion and propriety. This wasn't love as we know it. This was love as religion, complete with saints, sinners, and the promise of both salvation and damnation. As merchants begin closing their stalls, we see the true cost of courtly love, written in tired eyes and trembling hands, for every romantic gesture carried the weight of social expectation. Every poem risked mockery, or worse, every stolen glance might be the last. Yet still they persevered. Still they played this dangerous game, because in a world of arranged marriages and political alliances, courtly love offered something precious, the illusion of choice, the dream that hearts could triumph over circumstance. The fair begins to quiet as night claims the sky, but the lessons it holds continue to echo through the centuries. For these weren't just medieval curiosities, they were the foundation stones upon which all our modern notions of romance were built. The idea that love should be a choice, that it should be earned through devotion, that it should transform us into something greater. All of this began here, in the flickering candlelight of medieval courts, among people who dared to make love into art. Lanterns cast dancing shadows across the emptying fairground as the last merchants pack their wares. But the real drama is just beginning, for as formal courtship ends with sunset, the secret rituals of courtly love truly come alive, in whispered conversations behind tapestries, in coded messages passed through servants, in the delicious agony of loving someone just out of reach. This is where passion lived, in medieval Europe, not in marriage beds, but in the spaces between, in the yearning that made every heartbeat precious. The medieval fair fades into history, but its legacy burns eternal. For tonight, we've glimpsed the birthplace of romantic love as we know it, where simple attraction was transformed into something sacred, something that demanded everything and promised nothing, something that could lift souls to heaven or cast them into beautiful despair as we continue our journey through the intimate moments of the past. Remember this, that love has always been humanity's greatest adventure, and sometimes the most dangerous one. Chapter 2: Flowers and Tokens. In the quiet corners of medieval castles, where candlelight danced against stone walls, love spoke through symbols. Each petal, each carefully carved trinket, carried messages that words could never safely express. Imagine walking through those ancient halls where every gesture held meaning, where a single rose could change the course of two hearts forever. Tonight, we explore this tender language of tokens, where romance bloomed in the most unexpected ways. The art of giving tokens was as delicate as morning dew on castle gardens. A lady might receive a dozen gifts in a single day, each one requiring careful interpretation. Was that sprig of rosemary a pledge of remembrance, or simply a kind gesture? Did the silver thimble speak of practical affection, or was it a gentle rejection, wrapped in courtesy? Every noble learned to read these signs like scripture, for misunderstanding could mean heartbreak, or worse. Flowers held the most sacred meanings in this wordless conversation. Red roses whispered of passionate love, while white roses spoke of pure affection. Yellow roses, however, carried warning. They meant friendship, where deeper feelings were hoped for. Lavender bundles promised devotion and tranquility. Daisies suggested innocent love, perfect for young hearts just beginning to bloom. Each bloom was chosen with the care of a poet, selecting just the right word for their verse. But perhaps the most heartbreaking token was the forget-me-not. These tiny blue flowers carried the weight of separation when a knight prepared for a long crusade, or a lady faced an arranged marriage to a distant lord. Forget-me-nots became their final gift, pressed between the pages of prayer books, sewn into the lining of cloaks. They whispered the same plea across centuries. Remember me when I am gone. Remember that we once shared this moment. Handcrafted trinkets told even more complex stories. A carved wooden bird might represent freedom or captivity, depending on whether its wings were spread or folded. Rings without gems suggested eternal bonds of friendship, while those adorned with stones spoke of intentions more serious. Sapphires promised faithfulness, emeralds growth and renewal. Pearls, those treasures of the sea, represented tears, both of sorrow and of joy, depending on the giver's heart and circumstances. The most skilled artisans created tokens with hidden meanings, lockets that opened to reveal pressed flowers or tiny portraits, brooches designed with secret symbols that only the intended recipient would understand, combs carved with intertwining vines that represented two lives growing together. These weren't mere gifts, but small masterpieces of emotion, each one holding a story that could fill volumes if we could still read their ancient language of the heart. Sometimes the most powerful tokens were the simplest ones: a smooth stone from a favorite walking path, still warm from being carried close to the heart, a feather from a hawk spotted during a shared moment in the castle courtyard. These humble gifts carried memories that precious metals could never hold. They whispered of specific moments, private jokes, shared glances that had passed between two souls in crowded rooms full of strangers. In the castle scriptorium, monks carefully recorded the meanings of various tokens, creating illuminated manuscripts that served as guides for the lovelorn. These beautiful books, decorated with gold leaf and vibrant inks, became treasured references. Young nobles would study them like battle strategies, learning which gifts might win favor and which could cause offense. Love, they discovered, required as much preparation as any diplomatic mission or military campaign. The timing of a gift was as important as the gift itself. Tokens given during certain feast days carried extra significance. A violet offered on the feast of St. Valentine spoke of hidden love. Gifts exchanged during harvest festivals promised abundance and fertility. But tokens given during Lent suggested a love willing to endure sacrifice, and waiting medieval lovers became students of the calendar, planning their romantic gestures around holy days and seasonal celebrations. Women, too, crafted tokens with remarkable skill. Embroidered handkerchiefs bore messages in the choice of thread colors and stitching patterns: blue threads for loyalty, gold for honor, silver for purity. The complexity of the embroidery itself spoke volumes. Simple running stitches suggested humble affection, while elaborate French knots and satin stitches revealed the depth of the maker's feelings. These textile messages could be worn close to the heart, hidden from disapproving eyes. Rejection, too, had its own delicate language. A returned gift wrapped in black silk spoke clearly without causing public embarrassment. Dried flowers instead of fresh ones suggested that feelings had withered. Coins given in even numbers meant the relationship should remain transactional, never romantic. These gentle no's preserved dignity while making intentions unmistakably clear. Heartbreak delivered with such courtesy that it almost seemed like kindness, almost. Now we come to our young knight. Sir Edmund of Ashford, barely 21 summers old, with calloused hands from sword practice and ink stains on his fingers from writing poetry. For months he had watched Lady Isabel from across crowded halls, memorizing the way candlelight caught in her auburn hair. Tonight, in his small chamber overlooking the castle courtyard, he sits surrounded by potential tokens, each one representing a different path his heart might take. On his wooden table lay the fruits of weeks of preparation: a spray of wild roses gathered from the forest, where he first glimpsed her walking, a silver pendant he had commissioned from the castle's finest goldsmith, designed with intertwining oak leaves for strength and ivy for fidelity, a small leather-bound book of sonnets, copied in his own careful hand. Each option seemed both perfect and inadequate for expressing what his heart could barely comprehend. His hands trembled as he considered each choice. The roses spoke of passion, but what if she found them too bold? The pendant declared serious intentions, but perhaps too soon for their tentative friendship. The poetry revealed his soul, but also his inexperience with worldly matters. How could he translate the symphony of feelings in his chest into something small enough to hold in her palm, yet powerful enough to change everything between them? Outside his window, the castle bells chimed midnight. Tomorrow would bring the feast of St. Agnes. When tradition allowed young men to declare their intentions, Edmund knew he could not let another such opportunity pass. His brothers in arms already teased him about his size and distracted sword practice. Even the castle dogs seemed to sense his lovesickness, following him with sympathetic eyes as he wandered the grounds in melancholy contemplation. Finally, he reached for the simplest token of all, a single white rose, barely opened, still holding dewdrops from the castle garden. In its quiet perfection, he found his answer. Sometimes the most profound messages required the fewest words. Sometimes love spoke clearest in its simplest form. With steady hands, he wrapped the rose in soft linen, sealing his fate with the gentlest of gestures. Tomorrow, he would discover if his heart had chosen wisely. Chapter 3. A Knight's Vow. The great hall fills with anticipation as candles flicker against stone walls. Tonight, something sacred unfolds, a tradition that has bound hearts for generations. Our knight stands at the threshold of commitment, his armor polished, his heart racing. The community gathers in hushed reverence, knowing they will witness a moment that will echo through time. Love hangs in the air like morning mist. In the quiet moments before the ceremony, he kneels alone in the chapel, hands clasped, eyes closed, searching his soul for the right words. This isn't just about declaring love, it's about promising his very essence to another. The weight of generations of knights who came before him presses gently on his shoulders. Their whispered wisdom guides him as he prepares to bare his heart. She waits in her chamber, fingers tracing the edge of her window, knowing that tonight everything changes. Her heart flutters between hope and fear. Will his words ring true? Will his vow hold the depth she longs for? The silk of her gown catches the moonlight as she breathes deeply, preparing herself for whatever pledge awaits her in the hall below. The doors creak open, and the knight enters. Each footstep echoes against the vaulted ceiling. Nobles and servants alike turn their heads. This moment belongs to everyone present. In medieval times, love was never a private affair. It was witnessed, blessed, and held accountable by the community. The knight's breath forms small clouds in the cool evening air as he approaches the altar. His beloved appears at the far end of the hall, a vision in flowing fabric that seems to float rather than walk. Their eyes meet across the sacred space. In that instant, the room fades away. There is only him, only her, only this moment suspended in time. The flickering candlelight dances across their faces as destiny draws them together, step by careful step. The knight begins to speak, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Before God and these witnesses, I pledge not just my sword, but my soul. His words carry the weight of absolute truth. This isn't the flowery language of courtly love. This is raw, honest commitment. The hall holds its breath as his vow unfolds, like a prayer whispered to the heavens above. I vow to protect not just your body, but your dreams, to honor not just your beauty, but your mind, to cherish not just your presence, but your absence when duty calls. Each word is chosen with the care of a craftsman, polished by sincerity, weighted with the knowledge that vows spoken before God and community become unbreakable bonds that transcend earthly concerns. Tears glisten in her eyes as she listens, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming beauty of being truly seen, truly chosen. His vow doesn't promise perfection, it promises presence. It doesn't guarantee ease, it guarantees effort. She feels the sacred weight of being loved, not for an ideal, but for who she truly is. Her heart swells with wonder. The community watches in reverent silence as he continues. I pledge my victories to your honor and my defeats to our shared strength. These aren't empty promises, they're blueprints for a life built together in medieval times. A knight's vow carried legal weight, spiritual significance, social accountability. His words become bonds that will shape every choice he makes. She steps forward, her voice soft but clear, and I receive your vow with the solemnity it deserves. Her response isn't passive acceptance, it's active participation in creating their shared future. I pledge in return my faith in your goodness, my patience with your growth, my joy in your triumphs, and comfort in your sorrows. Her words interweave with his. The air grows thick with unspoken emotion as they face each other, hands almost touching, but not quite. The space between them, electric with possibility. This is the moment where uncertainty lives, where commitment hangs in the balance, where two souls decide whether to leap together into an unknown future. The candles flicker as if responding to their hearts. He reaches out slowly, offering his hand palm up, a gesture of vulnerability, of invitation. She looks down at his open palm and sees not just flesh and bone, but a lifetime of shared mornings, quiet conversations, gentle arguments resolved in love. Her own hand trembles slightly as she considers the magnitude of what accepting means. Time stretches like honey. Their eyes meet one final time before her decision. In his gaze, she sees not the perfect knight of legends, but a man willing to grow, to fail, to try again, to love imperfectly but completely. In her eyes, he sees not an angel or a prize, but a partner, an equal, someone who will challenge him to become better while loving who he is now. Slowly, deliberately, she places her hand in his. Their fingers intertwine like puzzle pieces, finding their perfect match. The hall releases a collective breath it didn't know it was holding. The vow is sealed, not with grand gestures, but with this simple, profound touch. Their commitment witnessed, blessed, made real through the sacred act of choosing each other. But even in this moment of joy, uncertainty lingers. Medieval life was harsh, unpredictable. Wars called knights away. Illness struck without warning. Their vow is beautiful, but it's also fragile, dependent on daily choices to honor it. The community knows this. They've seen love triumph and love fail. Tonight they celebrate while knowing tomorrow brings tests. As the ceremony concludes, their joined hands remain the center of everything. The vow hangs in the air like incense, sacred and mysterious. What happens next will test every word spoken tonight. But for now, in this candlelit moment, love has been declared, witnessed, blessed, and that is enough. The future will write the rest of their story, one choice at a time. Chapter 4: The Whispering Woods. Beyond the castle walls, where moonlight filters through ancient oak branches, a different kind of courtship unfolds, here in the shadows, away from watchful eyes and rigid protocols. Medieval lovers found their sanctuary. The forest becomes their chapel, the rustling leaves their only witnesses. In these sacred groves, passion could breathe freely, unbound by the constraints of noble society. Hearts beat in rhythm with the night wind, carrying whispered promises through the darkness. Listen, can you hear the soft footsteps on the moss-covered path? A young knight ventures into the depths of the whispering woods, his heart heavy with anticipation. Tonight, like countless nights before, he will meet his beloved in the clearing where wild roses bloom. Their love, forbidden by family feuds and social standing, can only flourish in these stolen moments. The forest holds their secrets, protects their tender words, and shields their trembling touches from a world that would tear them apart. She waits beneath the ancient willow, its drooping branches creating a natural bower. Her fingers trace the bark nervously as she listens for his approach, wrapped in a dark cloak to hide her identity. She embodies the countless women who risked everything for love in medieval times. The penalty for such meetings could be severe: banishment, forced marriage to another, or worse. Yet here she stands, choosing passion over prudence, her heart singing despite the danger that surrounds their forbidden romance. From the folds of his tunic, he produces a small leather pouch. Inside, a delicate silver ring set with a moonstone, its surface glowing pale in the starlight. This is no casual gift. In medieval courtship, every token carried deep meaning. The moonstone symbolized faithfulness through cycles of separation, promising that their love would endure like the eternal dance of moon and stars. Her tears catch the light as she accepts this precious symbol, understanding the weight of his commitment despite their impossible circumstances. Letters, the lifeline of forbidden love, carefully penned by candlelight and sealed with wax. These precious messages traveled through secret networks of loyal servants and sympathetic friends, each word chosen with exquisite care. For discovery meant disaster. They wrote of dreams shared under starlight, of hands that longed to touch, of futures they dared not speak aloud. These parchments, worn soft from countless readings, became treasures more valuable than gold, fragments of the heart, preserved in ink and yearning. The exchange is swift, practiced. Her letter slips from her sleeve into his waiting palm, while his finds its way to her bodice. Neither dares to read immediately. The anticipation is part of their ritual, part of the exquisite torture of secret love. Later, alone in their chambers, they will devour every word by flickering flame. But now, in this moment, they simply stand together in the consecrated silence of the woods, breathing the same air, sharing the same dreams. Above them, the night sky spreads like a vast tapestry. Constellations wheel overhead, the same stars that have witnessed countless secret meetings throughout history. Medieval lovers often chose their rendezvous times by celestial movements, when Venus rose bright in the western sky, when the moon waned to a sliver, when particular stars aligned. These heavenly timepieces helped coordinate their stolen moments, while adding a touch of divine blessing to their earthly passion. The universe itself seemed to conspire in their favor. A rustle in the underbrush freezes their hearts. Has someone followed, discovered their secret sanctuary? They press close together, barely breathing, as a deer emerges from the shadows to drink from the woodland stream. Relief washes over them in waves, but the reminder is stark. Their love exists in constant peril. Every meeting could be their last. Yet this danger only intensifies their connection, making each whispered word, each gentle touch, infinitely more precious than if their love were blessed and celebrated. He reaches into his pouch again, this time producing a small bundle of herbs, lavender, rosemary, and sweet woodruff, tied with silk thread. In medieval times, such gifts carried coded messages. Lavender spoke of devotion, rosemary promised remembrance, woodruff declared sweetness of character. She presses the fragrant bundle to her heart, understanding that when she sleeps with these herbs beneath her pillow tonight, she will dream of him. Their love speaks in the language of flowers, roots, and ancient wisdom. Their hands find each other in the darkness, fingers intertwining with desperate tenderness. In an age when physical contact outside marriage was strictly forbidden, this simple touch becomes revolutionary. Her pulse races beneath his gentle thumb. His breath catches at the softness of her palm. They stand like this, hand in hand, letting their hearts speak through their fingertips. No words are needed. The forest around them pulses with their shared longing, nature itself bearing witness to their pure, aching love. Time moves differently in the whispering woods. Minutes stretch like hours. Hours compress into heartbeats. They know their meeting must end soon. Dawn will bring responsibilities, obligations, the suffocating weight of their separate worlds. But here, now, in this pocket of eternity, they exist only for each other. Her head rests briefly against his shoulder. His arms encircle her trembling form. For this moment, they are not noble and peasant, not enemy houses. They are simply two souls merged in perfect, impossible harmony. From her cloak, she draws a small token, a pressed flower from the garden where they first met. Carefully preserved between sheets of parchment, the petals still hold traces of color, though they are now fragile as butterfly wings. She places it in his palm with reverent care. This simple gesture carries the weight of 1,000 promises. When he carries it close to his heart, he carries part of her soul. These small treasures became the currency of medieval courtship, more valuable than gold. The first pale hint of dawn touches the eastern sky. Their time grows short, yet neither wants to break this sacred spell. They memorize each other's faces in the fading starlight, storing up images to sustain them through the long days of separation. Her fingers trace the line of his jaw. His thumb brushes away a tear from her cheek. These gentle touches must last until the moon rises full again, until the whispering woods can shelter their love once more. A nightingale begins its song from deep within the forest. Its liquid notes cascade through the branches like tears of joy. Medieval lovers often saw nightingales as messengers of true love, their songs believed to carry prayers directly to heaven. As the sweet melody surrounds them, they close their eyes and make their own silent prayers for protection, for patience, for the strength to endure whatever trials await. The nightingale sings on, weaving their hopes into its ancient, eternal song. They part reluctantly, walking backwards from each other until the shadows swallow their forms, but their spirits remain entwined, connected by invisible threads stronger than iron chains. He takes the southern path back to his manor. She follows the stream toward her father's castle. Behind them, the whispering woods settle back into peaceful silence, keeping their secrets safe until another night, another meeting, another chance for love to flourish in the darkness. The ancient trees remember everything, forget nothing, and so the pattern continues. Night after night, season after season, the whispering woods become witness to a love that refuses to die despite impossible odds. Their story echoes through the centuries, reminding us that the human heart knows no boundaries, recognizes no obstacles. In these sacred groves, where starlight filters through ancient leaves, we glimpse the eternal truth that love, in all its forms, finds a way, always finds a way, to whisper its secrets to those brave enough to listen. Chapter 5, Challenges of Chivalry. The morning sun casts long shadows across the castle courtyard as our knight faces his greatest test, not in battle, but in proving his worthiness for love. The chivalric code demands more than courage. It requires sacrifice, endurance, and unwavering devotion. Each trial ahead will strip away layers of who he thought he was, revealing the man he must become. The first challenge arrives with dawn, a quest that seems simple on parchment but weighs heavy on his heart. He must journey to the Valley of Tears, where previous knights have failed, not from lack of skill, but from the emotional toll. The path winds through memories of loss, doubt, and longing. Each step forward demands he confront not just external dangers, but the fears within. As he rides through the misty valleys, expectations press down like winter fog. His lady's silken favor, tied to his arm, serves as both blessing and burden. The weight of her hopes, her family's honor, and his own dreams create a pressure that threatens to crush his spirit. Yet still he continues, for love demands nothing less than everything. The first physical trial emerges from the forest shadows, a bridge guarded by a knight in black armor, his challenge echoing across the chasm. Our knight's sword feels heavy in his grip, not from its weight, but from the knowledge that defeat means more than personal failure. It means disappointing the one whose love gives his life meaning. Steel rings against steel in the morning light. Each clash of swords reverberates through his bones. Exhaustion creeps in, but surrender is not an option. The Black Knight fights with desperate fury, driven by his own lost love. Our knight realizes this battle is not about strength, but about understanding the depth of sacrifice that true love requires. Victory comes at a price. The black night falls, revealing beneath his helmet the face of a man consumed by grief. Our knight tends to his wounds, understanding now that the chivalric code is not about conquest, but about compassion. He leaves the bridge, changed, carrying not just triumph, but the weight of another's sorrow. Love teaches through suffering. The second trial awaits in a garden where roses grow wild and untamed. Here he must choose a single bloom for his beloved, but each flower carries a different meaning, a different promise. Red for passion, white for purity, pink for gentle affection. His choice will speak louder than any words he could offer. The pressure of perfect love weighs heavily. Hours pass as he walks among the thorns. Each rose seems to mock his uncertainty. How does one choose when every option feels insufficient? The garden keeper watches silently, her ancient eyes holding secrets of lovers past. She whispers that the perfect choice comes not from the mind, but from a heart willing to bleed for love. His fingers close around a simple white rose, its thorns drawing blood, but something profound happens in that moment of pain. He understands that love is not about perfection, but about the willingness to be wounded for another. The rose accepts his sacrifice, blooming brighter in his hands. But his choice reflects not certainty, but sincere devotion. The third challenge tests not his body or judgment, but his very soul. In a mirror-smooth lake, he must face visions of his deepest fears: failure, abandonment, unworthiness. The water shows him every moment he has fallen short of the chivalric ideal. Each reflection cuts deeper than any blade, yet he must not look away. The visions shift and change. He sees his beloved turning away in disappointment. He sees himself growing old and forgotten. He sees love slipping through his fingers like morning mist. Tears fall into the still water, creating ripples that distort the painful images. But in those distortions, he glimpses something else: acceptance of his human frailty. Understanding dawns like sunrise over the lake. The chivalric code is not about being perfect. It is about striving toward perfection while embracing our flaws. His reflection in the water changes, showing not an idealized knight, but a man who loves deeply despite his limitations. This truth sets him free from the prison of impossible expectations. The final trial awaits at the quest's end, a simple choice between two paths. One leads to glory and recognition, the other to quiet service and humble love. The pressure of what others expect wars with what his heart knows to be true. He realizes that the greatest challenge is not proving his worth to the world, but choosing authenticity over appearance. His choice is made, not with fanfare, but with quiet certainty. He takes the path of humble love, understanding that true chivalry lies not in grand gestures, but in daily devotion. The weight of expectation lifts from his shoulders, replaced by the gentle warmth of purpose. He has learned that love's greatest victory is simply showing up day after day. As he emerges from the trials, the knight is transformed, not into the perfect hero he thought he needed to become, but into someone more valuable, a man who understands that love requires courage, not just in battle, but in vulnerability, that strength lies not in never falling, but in rising each time we do. His journey has just begun. The sun sets as he returns, carrying scars both visible and hidden, but also carrying wisdom that will guide him through whatever challenges await. His lady sees the change in his eyes, not defeat, but depth, not perfection, but something far more precious: the understanding that true love is built not on flawless performance, but on sincere commitment through all seasons. Chapter 6, Letters of Love and Longing. In the quiet candlelit chambers of medieval castles, quill meets parchment with trembling hands. Here, in the art of letter writing, we discover the deepest expressions of the human heart. Each stroke of ink carries weight beyond words, each carefully chosen phrase a bridge between yearning souls. Tonight, we explore how love found its voice through written word, transforming simple letters into vessels of profound emotion and tender vulnerability. The medieval world moved slowly. Messages traveled by horseback across muddy roads and treacherous passes, sometimes taking weeks to reach their destination. This distance made each letter precious, each word deliberate. Lovers couldn't simply pick up a phone or send a quick text. Instead, they poured their souls onto parchment, knowing their beloved might read these words by firelight, alone in their chamber, hungry for connection across the miles. Writing was not a skill everyone possessed in medieval times. Literacy was often reserved for the nobility and clergy. This made love letters even more sacred, sometimes requiring the help of learned scribes who would translate spoken feelings into elegant script. Imagine entrusting your most intimate thoughts to another's hand, hoping they would capture not just your words, but the emotion behind them, vulnerability layered upon vulnerability. Our young knight sits at his writing desk as evening shadows lengthen. Before him lies fresh parchment, smooth and waiting. His beloved's face fills his thoughts, her laugh echoing in memory. He dips his quill in ink, watching the dark liquid pool at the tip. How does one begin to capture love in words? How does the heart speak when the beloved is far away? He takes a steadying breath and begins. The opening lines of a medieval love letter followed certain traditions, courtly and respectful, acknowledging the lady's noble station. Yet beneath the formal language, passion simmers. Our knight writes of her beauty, comparing her eyes to stars, her voice to songbirds at dawn. Each metaphor carries centuries of romantic tradition, yet feels fresh when written with genuine longing. The personal and universal dance together on parchment. He pauses, ink still wet on the page. How can mere words express the way his heart races when she enters a room, or the empty ache when she's away? He writes of sleepless nights, of dreams where they walk together through moonlit gardens. The quill scratches softly against parchment, the only sound in his chamber. Each sentence must be perfect, for once sent, these words become permanent, eternal. Medieval love letters were often filled with references to classical mythology and religious imagery. Lovers became goddesses and knights, their romance elevated to epic proportions. Our knight writes of serving his lady as a devoted knight serves his lord. He speaks of pilgrimage, of sacred quests undertaken in her honor. These grand metaphors weren't mere poetry. They transformed earthly love into something transcendent, something worthy of the greatest stories ever told. The physical act of writing itself held meaning. The careful formation of each letter showed devotion. Smudges or blots might be seen as carelessness, disrespect to the beloved. Our knight writes slowly, deliberately. His hand cramps, but he continues. The parchment must be pristine, the script elegant. He knows she will study every curve of every letter, searching for clues to his heart. The medium truly becomes part of the message. Between the formal declarations, intimate details emerge. He remembers the way she laughed at his jest during the harvest feast, how her hand brushed his when reaching for bread. These small moments, precious as jewels, find their way into his letter. He writes of missing her smile, of counting days until they meet again. The grand and the gentle weave together, creating a tapestry of true affection. Some medieval letters included small tokens, pressed flowers, a lock of hair, a piece of ribbon. These physical reminders bridged the gap between writer and reader. Our knight considers what he might include: a small wild flower from their favorite meadow, dried and carefully preserved. He places it gently beside his letter. When she receives it, she'll hold something that once grew where they walked together, memory made tangible. The letter grows longer as the candle burns lower. He writes of his hopes for their future, perhaps a cottage with a garden where she might grow herbs, children playing in the yard while they sit together in the evening light. These dreams feel both distant and achingly real. As he sets them down in ink, he's creating more than a letter, he's sketching the blueprint of a shared life. Medieval lovers understood that letters carried risks. Messages could be intercepted, read by disapproving parents or rivals. Some developed coded language, private jokes and references only the beloved would understand. Our knight writes carefully, passion tempered by discretion, yet even in coded words, love finds a way to shine through. The heart speaks its own language, one that lovers always recognize. As he nears the end of his letter, emotion overwhelms him. How can he close such a message? How does one say goodbye on paper when every fiber yearns to be near? He writes of his devotion, his promise to remain faithful no matter the distance or time. He signs with flourishes, his name a declaration of identity and commitment. The letter is complete, but his heart remains open, waiting. The sealing of the letter becomes a ritual. He drips warm wax onto the fold, pressing his signet ring into the soft red pool. This seal is both protection and promise. Only she should break it. Only she should read these words. The letter is now a secret, shared between two hearts, protected by wax and honor. He holds it for a moment, reluctant to let it go. At dawn, he entrusts the letter to a faithful messenger, someone who understands the precious cargo they carry. The letter begins its journey across the countryside, through villages and over hills. Our knight watches the messenger disappear into morning mist, his heart traveling with those folded pages. Now begins the hardest part: the waiting, the wondering, the hoping for words in return. In castles and cottages across medieval Europe, countless letters traveled on similar journeys, each one a bridge built of words, spanning the distances between loving hearts. Some brought joy, others heartbreak, all carried the essential human need to connect, to be known, to be loved. As our knight's letter makes its way to his beloved, we're reminded that love letters remain timeless. Words of the heart never grow old. Chapter 7: Festivals of Affection. The morning bells ring across the village, calling everyone to gather. Today is no ordinary day, but one of celebration, where hearts dare to speak what they've kept hidden. Banners flutter in the warm breeze, carrying the scent of honey cakes and roasted meats. Laughter echoes through cobblestone streets as neighbors become witnesses to love's most vulnerable moments. In medieval times, these festivals weren't just entertainment, they were the stages where romance bloomed under watchful, encouraging eyes. The marketplace transforms into something magical. Wooden stalls overflow with ribbons, flowers, and trinkets. Merchants call out their wares while children weave between dancing couples. The air thrums with anticipation. You can almost taste the excitement, mingling with fresh bread and spiced wine. These weren't just markets, but theaters of the heart. Every glance exchanged, every smile shared, becomes part of the community's story. Here, in this bustling symphony of voices and music, our knight prepares to step into love's most public arena. He stands at the edge of the celebration, adjusting his finest doublet. His beloved waits somewhere in the crowd, perhaps watching from beneath a flower-crowned archway. His heart pounds louder than the festival drums. Medieval courtship demanded courage, especially when every gesture would be observed and discussed. Mothers whisper behind their hands, fathers nod approvingly or furrow their brows. Young lovers steal glances while pretending to focus on the jongleurs' performances. This is courtship as community theater, intimate yet entirely exposed. The first dance begins with a gentle melody. Couples form circles within circles, hands reaching across generations. Our knight searches the crowd until he finds her eyes. She curtsies as tradition demands, but her smile speaks a language older than custom. Medieval festivals understood something profound. Love shouldn't hide in shadows, but celebrate in sunlight. The community didn't intrude on romance, they nurtured it, creating sacred spaces where hearts could safely reveal their deepest longings. Every festival was a love letter written in communal joy. The dance floor becomes their private world within the public sphere. Their hands touch briefly during the steps, sending whispers of electricity through both their souls. Around them, other couples move through the choreography of courtship. Each dance tells a story: the careful approach, the tentative touch, the building trust. Medieval society understood that love needed witnesses, not to judge, but to bless. The community's presence transformed nervous attraction into something sacred. Their steps weave not just through music, but through the very fabric of their shared future. Tables groan under the weight of the harvest feast, bread still warm from ovens, wheels of aged cheese, pies filled with apples and honey. But the real nourishment comes from shared glances across platters. Our knight offers her the choicest piece of meat, a gesture that speaks volumes in medieval language. She accepts with grace that makes his pulse quicken. Around them, families feast together, creating the backdrop for romance. Food becomes communion, each shared meal, a small ceremony of connection, love seasoned with community's warm embrace. He presents her with a small gift, a carved wooden rose that took him weeks to perfect. Medieval festivals were marketplaces of affection, where symbolic gifts carried the weight of unspoken promises. She holds it gently, understanding its true value isn't in craftsmanship, but in the hours of devotion it represents. Around them, other suitors offer their tokens: ribbons, pressed flowers, handwritten verses. The community watches these exchanges with knowing smiles, recognizing love's ancient ritual of giving pieces of one's soul disguised as simple presents. A troubadour takes the stage, his lute catching firelight. His voice rises in ballads of distant love. Brave knights and patient ladies. Our couple stands closer now, the music creating an intimate sphere around them. Medieval festivals understood that stories and songs didn't just entertain, they provided language for feelings too deep for ordinary words. As the melody weaves through the crowd, their hearts synchronize to its rhythm. The troubadour sings of love's trials and triumphs, while they quietly write their own chapter in the grand song of romance. The village elders watch approvingly from their place of honor. They've seen countless festivals, witnessed hundreds of courtships bloom and fade. Their presence provides both blessing and gentle guidance. Medieval communities didn't leave love to chance. They created structures, traditions, and safe spaces where affection could grow. Our knight's mother catches his eye and nods encouragingly. His beloved's father raises his cup in subtle approval. Love needs witnesses, needs community investment. These festivals were society's way of saying, your happiness matters to all of us. But public courtship carries its own challenges. Every stumbled word becomes fodder for gossip. Every awkward moment gets magnified under community scrutiny. Our knight fumbles while trying to compliment her flower crown, his nervousness making his voice crack. She covers her laugh with her hand, not mocking, but charmed by his vulnerability. Medieval lovers learned that authenticity mattered more than perfection. The community valued genuine affection over polished performance. These festivals taught that love's beauty lies not in flawlessness, but in the courage to be genuinely, imperfectly human. The sun reaches its peak as specialized festival traditions begin. Young unmarried people gather for the ribbon dance, weaving colorful silks around a tall wooden pole. Each ribbon represents a wish, a hope, a prayer for love. Our couple takes their place in the circle, their ribbon intertwining with others. Medieval festivals created these rituals to formalize hope, to give structure to the chaos of the heart. As they dance, their individual ribbons weave together, creating something beautiful that neither could achieve alone, community magic, transforming personal longing into shared celebration. His hands tremble slightly as he helps adjust her ribbon. The simple touch sends electricity through both their bodies. Around them, the festival continues its joyful chaos, but they exist in their own bubble of awareness. Medieval courtship walked the delicate line between propriety and passion. Every stolen moment felt precious because it was witnessed and blessed. She steadies his nervous energy with her calm presence. Her eyes speak what words cannot. In this public space, they discover the paradox of medieval love, how being seen by many can make two hearts feel utterly alone together. She moves through the crowd with natural grace, her dress catching afternoon light like captured sunshine. Other young men steal glances, but her attention remains focused on her knight. Medieval women at festivals navigated complex social territories, balancing modesty with charm, tradition with personal desire. She accepts compliments graciously, but reserves her brightest smiles for him. The community notes these subtle choices, understanding that her heart has already made its selection. In these public spaces, women wielded quiet power, their choices shaping the romantic landscape of their entire community. Evening approaches and torches begin to flicker. The festival takes on a magical quality as shadows dance with firelight. Symbolic elements emerge everywhere. Couples exchange flowers that will be pressed and kept as treasures. Children throw handfuls of grain for luck and fertility. Our knight and his beloved find themselves beneath a canopy of stars and lanterns. The community has created sacred space where love can flourish. Every tradition, every ritual designed to honor the mysterious force that draws hearts together, transforming individual attraction into something blessed and eternal. The moment arrives, surrounded by their community, with music swelling and firelight dancing across their faces. He takes her hands in his. The crowd falls silent, sensing something significant about to unfold. Medieval festivals often climaxed with declarations of intent, public announcements of private feelings. He speaks her name like a prayer, asking if she'll accept his courtship formally. Her yes rings across the celebration like a bell. The community erupts in cheers. Love has found its voice in the most public yet sacred way possible, their individual story becoming part of collective memory. As the festival winds down, they walk together through paths lit by dying embers. The community begins to disperse, carrying stories of the evening's magic. Our knight and his beloved have navigated the delicate dance of public courtship successfully. Medieval festivals served as more than entertainment. They were laboratories of love, testing grounds for compatibility, blessing spaces for new beginnings. Tonight, surrounded by their people, they discovered that true love isn't diminished by witnesses. Instead, it grows stronger when nurtured by community's gentle, encouraging embrace. Their journey continues, now officially blessed. Chapter 8, Promises Under the Moonlight. The castle walls fade behind them as our lovers slip into the moonlit gardens. Here, beneath ancient oak trees, they find their sacred space. Silver light dances across the fountain's gentle waters, creating ripples that mirror their racing hearts. This is where medieval hearts dared to speak their deepest truths, where promises were whispered that would echo through centuries of love stories yet to come. Away from watching eyes and courtly expectations, they settle beside the marble fountain, its soft bubbling the only witness to their vulnerability. She traces patterns in the moonlit water while he watches her delicate movements. In this moment, the rigid rules of medieval courtship dissolve like morning mist. Here, under the protective veil of starlight, they can finally be themselves, two souls preparing to bare their hearts completely. He speaks first, his voice barely above a whisper, sharing fears that have haunted him since childhood, the weight of family expectations, the terror of not being worthy of her love. She listens with the patience of moonlight itself, her gentle presence encouraging each vulnerable word. In medieval times, such emotional intimacy was rare. Yet here, in their sanctuary, ancient barriers begin to crumble like old parchment. Her turn now, she reveals dreams that she's never spoken aloud, desires for a life beyond the constraints of her noble birth, hopes for adventures they might share, quiet moments they could treasure. Her words float between them like dandelion seeds on the night breeze, each confession a gift more precious than any jeweled token. Their medieval world demanded silence from women, but here she finds her voice. The fountain's gentle song mingles with their whispered promises. He reaches for her hand, their fingers intertwining like the roots of ancient trees. In the moonlight, they speak of forever, of building a love that could weather any storm. Their words carry the weight of sacred vows, more binding than any ceremony. This is how true medieval romance bloomed, not in grand gestures, but in these stolen moments of complete truth. Above them, the stars bear witness to promises that transcend their earthly circumstances. She tells him of her fears too, the terror of losing herself in marriage, of becoming merely an extension of his name. He listens with the reverence of a pilgrim, hearing sacred music, understanding that her trust is the most precious gift in their medieval world. Such honesty between lovers was revolutionary, yet here they are, pioneering emotional intimacy. The night air carries the scent of jasmine and possibility. As their conversation deepens, they speak of childhoods marked by duty, dreams deferred for family honor, yet also of small joys, moments of laughter that sustained them through lonely years. Their shared stories weave together like threads in a tapestry, creating something beautiful and strong. This is how medieval lovers built their foundation, through the patient sharing of souls. He tells her about the nights he spent imagining her voice, how he memorized her laugh from across crowded halls, how her kindness to servants revealed her true character. She blushes in the moonlight, admitting she too noticed him, the way he helped fallen pages, his gentle way with horses. These small observations, shared in starlight, become the building blocks of their deepening bond. Love discovered in details. As the night deepens, Their words flow like the fountain beside them, continuous, clear, and life-giving. She speaks of books she's read in secret, ideas that fire her imagination. He shares his love of music, how melodies help him process the complexities of noble life. Their intellectual connection sparkles alongside their emotional one. In their medieval era, such partnerships of mind and heart were treasures rare and infinitely precious. The moon climbs higher as they explore their deepest longings together, dreams of a home where love governs more than duty, where they can speak freely every day, not just in stolen moments, where their children will know both strength and tenderness. Their medieval world may constrain them, but their imaginations soar free, painting pictures of possibility that shimmer like starlight on water, hopes that will sustain them through whatever comes. She reveals her greatest fear, that love might not be enough to bridge the gap between their families, that political pressures might tear them apart like autumn leaves in a storm. He responds with fierce tenderness, promising to fight for their love with every breath. Their words become vows more sacred than any spoken in cathedral halls, witnessed only by moonlight and the eternal stars above their sanctuary. In this magical space, they dare to dream aloud of mornings spent in quiet conversation, of evenings by the fire, sharing the day's joys and sorrows, of growing old together with hands still entwined. Their medieval world offers little precedent for such emotional intimacy between spouses. Yet here they are, writing their own story, with whispered words and gentle touches, pioneers of the heart. The fountain continues its ancient song as they speak of practical dreams too, how they might rule their lands with both wisdom and compassion, how they could create a court where love and honor walk hand in hand. Their promises encompass both the personal and the political, understanding that their union could become a beacon of hope, showing their medieval world that true partnership was possible. As dawn approaches, their conversation reaches its emotional crescendo, all barriers dissolved, all fears acknowledged, all hopes shared. They sit in perfect communion, two souls who have found their match in each other. The medieval world will wake soon, with all its rules and restrictions. But this night, this precious gift of time and trust, will live forever in their hearts, a treasure no force can steal. Their final promises float on the pre-dawn air like sacred incense, vows to protect each other's dreams, to never let the world's cynicism dim their love's bright flame, to remember this night when challenges arise. Their words echo down the river of their shared future, rippling outward through time, touching all the love stories yet to be written, all the hearts yet to be opened. The first birds begin their morning songs as our lovers reluctantly prepare to leave their sanctuary, but they carry something precious away with them, the knowledge that they have been truly seen, truly known, truly loved. Their promises under the moonlight have created an unbreakable bond, a love story that will inspire generations, proving that even in the medieval world, true hearts could find their way to each other. Chapter 9: Courage, Valor, and Love. Our knight stands at the precipice of destiny, his heart hammering against his chest like war drums. The castle walls loom before him, each stone a witness to countless tales of triumph and defeat. Behind those walls waits his beloved, her image burned into his very soul. But between them lies not just distance, but the ultimate test that will define not only his worth as a warrior, but his courage to bear his heart completely. The morning mist clings to the battlements like ghostly fingers, reluctant to release their hold on this sacred ground. Our knight adjusts his armor one final time, each piece carefully blessed and polished. Yet beneath the gleaming steel, his hands tremble, not from fear of battle, for he has faced death 1,000 times before, but from something far more terrifying, the possibility of revealing his deepest emotions, of standing vulnerable before the one who holds his heart. 3 trials await him, each designed to test a different facet of his being. The first challenge looms ahead, a labyrinth of thorned passages where razor-sharp brambles seem to move with malicious intent. But these physical wounds pale in comparison to the memories that surface with each step. Childhood fears, moments of doubt, the sting of past rejections. As he navigates the maze, he realizes this isn't just about reaching the center. It's about confronting every part of himself he's kept hidden. Blood seeps through small tears in his surcoat, painting crimson maps of his journey. Yet with each scratch from the thorns, he feels something loosening within his chest. Old barriers crumbling, walls he built around his heart beginning to fall. The labyrinth whispers to him in voices of doubt, "You are not worthy. You are not enough." But for the first time, he finds the strength to whisper back, "Perhaps, but I am willing to try, and that must count for something." Emerging from the thorned maze, our knight faces the second trial, a bridge of glass spanning a chasm so deep its bottom disappears into shadow. Each step threatens to shatter beneath his weight, sending spiderweb cracks radiating outward. Below, voices of his past failures echo from the depths, every harsh word spoken to him, every moment he felt inadequate. The transparent surface forces him to see his reflection with brutal clarity, scarred, imperfect, human, yet still walking forward, one careful step after another. Halfway across the glass bridge, he stops not from fear of falling, but from the weight of realization. He has spent so many years trying to be perfect, to be worthy of love, but standing here, suspended between earth and sky, he understands something profound. Love isn't earned through perfection, it's offered through vulnerability. With this thought, his next steps become lighter. The glass still cracks, but it holds, not because he's become flawless, but because he's become honest. The final trial awaits in a circular chamber where time itself seems to bend and flow like honey. Here stands a mirror unlike any other, not reflecting his physical form, but showing every emotion he's ever suppressed. Anger at his father's distant approval, grief for the mother he barely knew, jealousy of those who seemed to love so effortlessly, and beneath it all, a deep aching loneliness that has driven every quest, every battle, every desperate attempt to prove his worth to the world. The mirror's surface ripples like disturbed water, showing him scene after scene, moments when he chose silence over truth, duty over feeling, armor over authenticity. But then the images shift, showing him what could be. Tender mornings filled with soft laughter, quiet evenings by firelight, hands intertwined in perfect understanding. The knight realizes this isn't just about winning her heart, it's about learning to trust his own, to believe he deserves the love he's spent his entire life seeking. With trembling hands, he removes his helmet, then his gauntlets. Piece by piece, he strips away the armor that has been both his protection and his prison. Standing before the mirror in simple cloth, he sees himself as he truly is, not the legendary knight of ballads, but a man who loves deeply and fears even more deeply. The reflection smiles back at him, and for the first time in years, he recognizes the person looking back, someone worthy of love, exactly as he is. The chamber doors swing open, revealing a garden bathed in golden light, and there she stands, his beloved, more beautiful than memory could contain. Her eyes searching his face with the intensity of someone who sees not the legend, but the man. She steps forward, her expression a mixture of hope and trepidation. He realizes she too has been waiting, wondering, hoping that love has never been about conquest or earning. It has always been about the courage to be seen, to be known, to be vulnerable. No words pass between them at first, just the soft sound of breathing, of hearts learning to beat in rhythm. He takes a step forward, then another, until they stand close enough to touch. She reaches up, her fingers tracing a scar along his jaw, a mark from battles fought not for glory, but for the right to stand here in this moment. Her touch is gentle, accepting, and in it he finds the absolution he's been seeking all his life, not from others, but from himself. When he finally speaks, his voice is different, softer, stripped of bravado and pretense. I have traveled through thorns and across glass, faced mirrors that showed me truths I feared to see, not to prove I am worthy of your love, but to learn that I am worthy of love itself. Yours, if you'll have me, but first and most importantly, my own. She smiles, then, tears glistening like diamonds in the garden light. And he knows she understands. She has been on her own journey too. Her response comes not in words, but in action. She takes his hands in hers, scarred palms against soft skin, and in that simple gesture, years of longing find their answer, not in grand proclamations or dramatic gestures, but in the quiet recognition that love is not a prize to be won, it is a gift to be shared, a sanctuary built by two souls brave enough to lower their defenses and trust in something greater than themselves, something tender, patient, and beautifully human. As evening falls over the castle grounds, they walk together through gardens where roses bloom in defiance of the season. Their conversation flows like wine, rich and warming, stories shared, dreams revealed, fears acknowledged and gently set aside. He learns that she too has wondered if she was enough, if she could be loved for who she truly was, beneath the expectations of nobility. Together, they discover that love's greatest victory isn't in overcoming others, but in overcoming the barriers within themselves. The trials he faced were never really about proving himself to her, they were about finding the courage to be authentically himself, to believe that his heart, with all its scars and imperfections, was worthy of tenderness. As they sit beneath stars that have witnessed countless love stories throughout the ages, he understands that true valor isn't found in the heat of battle. It's found in the quiet moments when we choose vulnerability over safety, truth over comfort. And so our night's greatest quest reaches its completion, not with fanfare or celebration, but with the gentle intertwining of fingers, the soft exchange of promises spoken in whispers. Love's triumph isn't measured in conquered lands or defeated enemies, but in the courage to open our hearts, to trust in connection, to believe that we are worthy of the tenderness we offer others. In this garden, under these ancient stars, two souls have found their home in each other, and that, dear listeners, is the truest victory of all. Chapter 10. Behind the Ivory Tower. Here we step gently into her world, the realm of the beloved, where candlelight flickers against stone walls, and silk curtains frame windows that look out onto courtyard gardens. This is where she dwells with her thoughts, her hopes carefully guarded like precious jewels. In this sacred space, her heart wrestles with possibilities that could change everything. Her story unfolds in whispered prayers and silent contemplation. She sits by her window each morning, watching the world beyond her protected walls. Her fingers trace patterns on cool stone as she wonders what lies ahead. The weight of expectation presses softly on her shoulders like a velvet cloak. She knows that every choice she makes will ripple through her family's future. Yet beneath the duty and decorum, her own desires flutter like butterflies, seeking freedom in the morning light. Her desires are complex tapestries woven from dreams and reality. She longs for companionship that goes beyond mere arrangement, a meeting of minds as well as hearts. She imagines conversations that stretch late into the evening, sharing thoughts about poetry and philosophy. Yet she also yearns for simple tenderness, the comfort of knowing someone truly sees her, not just her dowry or family connections. These hopes bloom quietly in her private moments, but hope dances hand in hand with fear. What if she chooses poorly? What if her heart leads her towards someone her family cannot accept? The thought of disappointing those she loves weighs heavily on her conscience. She fears becoming just another arrangement, her voice lost in negotiations between men. Yet perhaps most frightening of all is the possibility that she might never know true affection, that duty might eclipse the tender love she's read about in secret verses. The pressures surrounding her are like gentle but persistent currents. Her mother speaks often of advantageous matches and family honor. The servants whisper about visiting nobles and their intentions. Every social gathering becomes a careful dance of evaluation and presentation. She must appear interested, but not eager, accomplished, but not proud. The delicate balance exhausts her spirit, even as she maintains her graceful composure. Each day brings new expectations to navigate. In the privacy of her chambers, she allows herself moments of vulnerability. She presses flowers between the pages of prayer books, each bloom a symbol of fleeting beauty and hope. Sometimes she catches her reflection in polished metal and wonders what he sees when he looks at her. Does he notice the way her eyes light up when she speaks of music, or how her hands move gracefully when she tends her garden? Her heart holds a catalog of small moments that might mean everything or nothing at all. The way he paused when their eyes met across the great hall, how he lingered after others had departed from evening prayers, the carefully chosen words in his brief letters. She analyzes each gesture like a scholar studying ancient texts, searching for hidden meanings. These fragments of possibility sustain her through long hours of uncertainty and waiting. Joy visits her in unexpected moments, when spring flowers bloom in the castle garden, when she successfully completes a difficult embroidery pattern, when the chapel choir reaches a particularly beautiful harmony. These glimpses of happiness remind her that life holds beauty beyond the weight of her circumstances. She treasures these experiences, storing them like precious memories against whatever future awaits. They give her strength to face each new day with grace. Anticipation colors her days with both excitement and nervousness. Each messenger's arrival could bring news that changes everything. She finds herself listening more carefully to conversations in the solar, hoping to catch fragments of information about her future. Her dreams are filled with possibilities, some wonderful, some terrifying, all uncertain. This constant state of waiting teaches her patience she never knew she possessed, while slowly building her inner resolve. Her apprehension runs deeper than simple worry. She understands that her choice will affect not just herself, but generations to come. The alliances formed through marriage shape kingdoms and secure peace. This knowledge both humbles and burdens her. She prays for wisdom to see beyond surface attractions, to recognize character and kindness, to choose with both her heart and her mind. The responsibility feels overwhelming, yet also strangely empowering. Slowly, determination begins to crystallize within her spirit. She realizes that while she cannot control all circumstances, she can control how she responds to them. She starts speaking more confidently in family discussions, asking thoughtful questions about potential suitors. She decides that if she must marry for duty, she will at least ensure it is to someone who respects her mind and honors her dignity. This quiet revolution transforms her from passive participant to active agent. She begins to see that true strength lies not in rebellion, but in thoughtful resistance, in finding ways to honor her obligations while preserving her authentic self. She practices small acts of self determination, choosing which books to read, which prayers to emphasize, which qualities to highlight when she meets potential suitors. Each choice builds her confidence, teaching her that even within constraints, she possesses more power than she once believed possible. Her understanding of love evolves through this process of waiting and watching. She learns to distinguish between infatuation and genuine affection, between flattery and sincere compliments. She observes the marriages around her, noting which couples seem truly content and which merely endure. These observations become her guidebook, helping her recognize the qualities that might lead to lasting happiness rather than mere temporary attraction. Wisdom grows quietly within her heart. The path her heart may take becomes clearer as she learns to trust her instincts. She discovers that her feelings are valid guides when balanced with practical wisdom. Her prayers shift from requests for divine intervention to gratitude for growing understanding. She begins to believe that perhaps love and duty need not be enemies, that with patience and faith, she might find someone who honors both her family's wishes and her deepest hopes. As our time behind the ivory tower draws to a close, we see her transformation, no longer just a maiden awaiting her fate. She has become a woman capable of shaping her destiny within the bounds of her world. Her fears remain, but no longer paralyze her. Her hopes have matured into realistic expectations. Her joy has deepened into quiet confidence. She stands ready to meet whatever future awaits with grace and inner strength. The ivory tower that once felt like a prison has become her sanctuary of preparation. Here she has learned to navigate the complex waters of medieval courtship with both wisdom and authenticity. Her story reminds us that even within the most restrictive circumstances, the human heart finds ways to assert its truth. As she prepares to step beyond these walls, she carries with her the most precious gift of all, knowledge of her own worth. Chapter 11: The Emotional Chessboard. In medieval courts, love was never simple. It was a game of strategy, patience, and careful calculation. Imagine two souls positioned across an invisible board, each move weighted with consequence. The knight studies his beloved from afar, planning his approach like a master chess player, while she, equally strategic, considers her responses. Every glance becomes a move, every word a calculated advance. In this tender war of hearts, victory meant union, defeat meant a lifetime of longing. The opening moves were always the most delicate, a stolen glance across the great hall, lasting just a moment too long. She notices, of course, her fingers pause over her embroidery, a subtle acknowledgement that the game has begun. He takes courage from this small sign, advancing his position. The next day, he ensures their paths cross in the garden, a courteous bow, a gentle greeting. She responds with measured warmth. Neither too eager nor too distant, the board is set. Medieval courtship demanded patience, that would test modern hearts. Weeks might pass between meaningful exchanges. He sends a single white rose with no message. She accepts it, wearing white the following Sunday, a signal only he would recognize. Their correspondence, through flowers, colors, and gestures, created a language deeper than words. Each symbol carried weight. Each response held consequence. Rushing meant losing. Patience meant possibility. The emotional tension built slowly, like gathering storm clouds on a summer afternoon. The knight's strategy required allies. Her lady in waiting becomes his unwitting messenger. A casual question about her mistress's favorite music. Her brother's friend mentions seeing her walking by the river at sunset. Intelligence gathering disguised as innocent conversation. Meanwhile, she conducts her own reconnaissance. Through servants and sisters, she learns of his character, his faithfulness to friends, his treatment of those beneath his station. Trust was the foundation upon which love could safely build. The middle game brought bolder moves. He requests permission to escort her to morning chapel. She accepts, but only with her maid present. A careful balance of advance and protection. Their conversations during these walks revealed minds meeting across the chessboard of convention. She speaks of the poetry she reads, testing his depth. He shares his thoughts on honor and duty, proving his worthiness. Each exchange peeled back another layer of mystery, drawing them deeper into the game of hearts. Sometimes the game reached stalemate. Misunderstandings created distance that felt insurmountable. Perhaps he misread her silence as disinterest. Perhaps she interpreted his respect as indifference. Days would pass in careful observation, each waiting for the other to make the next move. Pride prevented direct action. Convention demanded restraint. Yet the magnetic pull between them remained constant. Like chess pieces locked in position, they orbited each other, searching for the perfect moment to break through. The most dangerous moves came from the heart, overruling the head, a moment when he might reach for her hand during evening prayers, or when she might linger too long at his side during the harvest feast. These impulses threatened to topple their carefully constructed game, yet sometimes breakthrough required risk, a whispered word, a meaningful touch, a look that said everything words could not. The tension between strategy and spontaneity made medieval romance an art form of exquisite complexity. She possessed moves he never anticipated, a smile shared with another suitor during the tournament, not from any real interest, but to test his reaction. Jealousy was information. His clenched jaw and quick departure told her what his polite restraint had hidden. Now she understood the depth of his feeling. Her strategy had revealed his vulnerability, yet seeing his pain brought no triumph, only the realization that her own heart was equally exposed. The game was changing, both players. The seasons turned as their emotional chess game deepened. Autumn brought stolen moments by the castle walls. Winter meant brief encounters by firelight in the great hall. Spring awakened bolder conversations during garden walks. Each season added layers to their understanding. He learned she feared being valued only for her dowry. She discovered he worried about being worthy of her refined spirit. Vulnerability became their most powerful piece, more effective than any calculated move. The end game approached with mounting intensity. Her father began receiving marriage proposals from neighboring lords. Suddenly, their leisurely chess match faced external pressure. Time, once their ally in building understanding, now became their enemy. He must declare his intentions or lose her forever. She must choose between familiar security and uncertain love. The board narrowed to essential moves. Every choice carried permanent consequence. The game of hearts was reaching its climax. On a moonlit evening in late spring, he made his crucial move, not a grand gesture, but a simple question whispered in the chapel garden. Would she walk with him beyond the castle walls, just once, to speak freely? Her agreement was itself a declaration. Beyond convention's watchful eyes, they finally lowered their guards. Words flowed like released water. Months of careful strategy gave way to honest emotion. The chess game was ending. Real life was beginning. That night, walking among the wild flowers beyond the castle grounds, they discovered what all their maneuvering had built toward: not conquest, but understanding; not victory, but partnership. She revealed her fears about marriage as possession. He confessed his terror of disappointing someone so precious. Their emotional chessboard transformed into common ground. Strategy became sincerity. The game they'd played so carefully had prepared them for love's deeper challenges. Trust was their checkmate. The formal courtship that followed seemed almost anticlimactic after their emotional chess match. Her father's approval, the betrothal ceremony, the wedding preparations, these were mere formalities compared to the complex game they'd already won. They had tested each other's patience, honor, and depth. They had survived misunderstandings and overcome pride. Their love had been forged in the crucible of medieval convention, strengthened by restraint, refined by respect, and proven through time. Years later, as an old married couple, they would remember their courtship as the most intense chess game ever played, where every move mattered, every pause held meaning, where victory meant not defeating the opponent, but finding in them a worthy partner for life's greater game. Their emotional chessboard had taught them that love's truest triumph comes not from conquest, but from the willingness to be vulnerable, to trust, and to build something beautiful together. Medieval courtships, chess like nature, reveals something profound about love itself: the importance of patience in building deep connection, the value of respect in creating lasting bonds, the necessity of strategy in navigating life's complexities together. Their ancestors understood that hearts worth winning deserve careful approach, that love worth having requires thoughtful cultivation. The emotional chessboard of medieval romance offers timeless wisdom about the beautiful complexity of two souls learning to move as one. As we leave this chapter of medieval hearts and their careful games, remember that every great love story contains elements of strategy and spontaneity, of patience and passion, of calculated moves and intuitive leaps. Whether in a medieval castle or a modern city, two people learning to love face the same eternal chessboard, where the greatest victory is not checkmate, but the discovery that you've found someone worth sharing all your moves with. Checkmate indeed. Chapter 12, Forging a Love Story. In the warm glow of a medieval forge, sparks dance like memories through the air. Our knight and his beloved stand at the threshold of something eternal. In every trial they've endured, every tender moment they've shared, every difficult conversation they've weathered, all of it has led to this sacred moment of transformation, where two hearts become one unbreakable bond. Like a master smith who knows that the finest steel requires the hottest flame, their love has been tested by fire and pressure. The bellows of time have fanned the embers of their devotion, and now, as moonlight filters through the workshop windows, we witness the culmination of their journey. Two souls ready to be forged into something magnificent and lasting. Remember the agonizing trials that once seemed insurmountable, the lonely nights when doubt crept in like winter frost, the moments when pride stood between them like an iron wall. Yet through each challenge, their love grew stronger. like metal heated and cooled again. Each test only served to remove impurities and reveal the pure gold within. The knight learned to lay down his armor, not in defeat, but in trust, while she discovered that vulnerability wasn't weakness, but the very foundation of true strength. Together they weathered storms that would have shattered lesser bonds, their love becoming like Damascus steel, layered, beautiful, and impossibly strong through the folding and refolding of shared experience. Now let us remember the sweet moments, those precious instances that glowed like coals in the darkness, stolen glances across crowded halls, whispered promises beneath starlit skies, the gentle touch of hands finding each other in the quiet spaces between words. These tender moments became the silver threads woven through the tapestry of their enduring love. Each shared laugh rang out like the clear tone of perfectly tuned bells. Every kiss was like the gentle blessing of morning dew on rose petals. In quiet moments by the fireside, they discovered that love wasn't just passion's flame, but also the steady warmth of companionship, the comfortable silence that speaks louder than any grand declaration of devotion. But true love requires more than sweet moments. It demands the courage to face hard truths, those conversations that felt like walking through thorns, when she challenged his assumptions about honor, when he questioned her dreams of independence, when he words that cut deep, yet ultimately carved away everything false between them, leaving only authentic connection. Through tears and raised voices, through silences that stretched like eternity, they learned that love isn't the absence of conflict, but the commitment to work through it together. Each difficult conversation became another layer of understanding, another fold in the metal of their bond, making it stronger, more flexible, more beautiful than before. And now, the forging begins in earnest. Watch as the master smith of time takes their separate stories, their individual dreams and fears, hopes and sorrows, and places them together in the sacred fire of commitment. The heat transforms them, not destroying what they were, but creating something entirely new and magnificent. The knight's strength melds with her wisdom. His protective nature balances her independent spirit. Like copper and tin, becoming bronze, they remain themselves while becoming something greater. The hammering of daily life shapes them. Each shared decision, each compromise, each act of selfless love, adding definition to their emerging masterpiece. See how the smith's careful hands guide the shaping, never forcing, always coaxing, just as their love learned to bend without breaking, to yield without surrendering. The metal glows white hot with possibility, cooled by the waters of patience, tempered by the wisdom gained through all their trials and triumphs together. With each precise strike of the hammer, their bond grows more defined, more purposeful, the rough edges smoothed away by understanding, the surface polished to a mirror, shined by acceptance. What emerges from the forge is no longer two separate pieces, but one seamless whole, beautiful, functional, and built to last through countless seasons. Now comes the final test, the proving of the blade. Will it hold true under pressure? Will it bend without breaking? Will it keep its edge through years of use? Their love faces the ultimate examination, not in grand gestures or passionate declarations, but in the quiet strength needed for everyday devotion. The testing reveals perfection. Their bond rings true, like the finest steel, flexible enough to weather any storm, strong enough to protect what matters most, sharp enough to cut through deception and doubt, polished to reflect the very best in each other, a masterwork that will serve them faithfully through all the years to come. Behold the finished masterpiece, no longer separate knight and maiden, but partners united in purpose, their love story forged in fire, shaped by trials, tempered by time. What emerges is neither his story nor hers, but theirs, a tale of two becoming one, while remaining beautifully, authentically themselves, forever intertwined, yet forever free. As the forge fire dies to gentle embers, and the last sparks fade into memory, we see the true beauty of their achievement. Not perfection, but perfect commitment. Not a fairy tale ending, but a real beginning. Their love now bears the mark of the master craftsman, indelible, unbreakable, and destined to endure through countless seasons of joy and sorrow alike. In the gentle morning light, the community awakens to witness something beautiful. The night's months of devotion have not gone unnoticed. Whispers of approval drift through cobblestone streets like morning mist. Neighbors pause in doorways, smiling knowingly at the tender persistence they've observed. There's something deeply moving about watching love prove itself worthy, about seeing dedication rewarded with the blessing of those who matter most. The very air seems lighter today. The blacksmith sets down his hammer to nod approvingly. The baker pauses her kneading to offer a warm smile. Even the stern-faced merchant at the corner softens his expression. This is how love earns its place in medieval society, not through grand gestures alone, but through the quiet accumulation of respect. The community becomes witness and judge. Their approval transforms private affection into something sacred and recognized, a love worth celebrating. You can almost hear the collective sigh of relief. The knight's shoulders relax for the first time in months. His efforts have been seen, understood, validated. There's profound comfort in knowing your love story has touched the hearts of others, that your dedication hasn't been foolish or misplaced. The community's blessing feels like warm sunlight breaking through winter clouds, filling every corner of doubt with golden certainty. In her chamber window, the maiden feels the shift, the weight of scrutiny, transforming into waves of support. Her cheeks flush, not with embarrassment now, but with pride. The community's approval validates not just his pursuit, but her worth as someone deserving of such devotion. She sees neighbors pointing upward with gentle smiles, their expressions saying what words cannot. That love like this deserves to flourish, deserves to find its way home. The village elders gather beneath the old oak tree, their weathered faces soft with memory and recognition. They've seen many courtships bloom and wither, but this one carries something different, something that reminds them of their own youth, of love's power to transform not just two hearts, but an entire community. They nod in unison, their blessing as ancient and powerful as the tree that shelters them, approval given with the weight of generations. There's deep wisdom in seeking community blessing. Medieval society understood that love doesn't exist in isolation, that marriage creates bonds extending far beyond two souls. The community's approval means acceptance into a larger family, protection during hardships, celebration during joys. It's why their validation feels so profound, so necessary, like the final piece of a puzzle clicking into place, completing a picture of belonging. Approval comes in countless small gestures, the way conversations pause when he passes, replaced by respectful nods, how market vendors offer him the finest fruits with knowing winks. Children no longer hide behind their mother's skirts, but wave boldly. Even the parish priest includes subtle blessings in his sermons. These quiet endorsements weave together into something powerful, a tapestry of communal support that makes love feel invincible, blessed by the very air it breathes. The heavy burden of judgment finally lifts months of wondering whether his efforts appeared foolish or admirable, of second guessing every gesture, every song, every token of affection. Now the community's response provides clarity. Their smiles chase away the shadows of doubt. Their approval transforms uncertainty into confidence. The knight walks taller now, his love story validated not just by his own heart, but by the collective wisdom of those around him. Spontaneous celebrations begin to bloom. Someone starts humming an old love ballad. Others join in. The cobbler's wife brings out her finest ribbons to decorate doorways. The innkeeper prepares his sweetest wine. There's an infectious joy spreading through the streets. Love has that power to lift entire communities on wings of hope, to remind everyone of their own capacity for tenderness, for believing in something beautiful and true. All those months of perseverance are finally bearing fruit. The knight remembers the early days when doubt gnawed at his resolve, when rain-soaked serenades felt foolish, when gifts seemed inadequate. But persistence has its own magic, its own power to slowly, gently change hearts and minds. The community's approval feels like vindication for every moment of uncertainty. Proof that love backed by dedication can move mountains, can change everything. Ancient songs drift from cottage windows, melodies their grandmothers sang at weddings. Voices join together in spontaneous harmony, creating a soundtrack for love's triumph. These are the songs that celebrate unions blessed by community, that acknowledge love as something sacred and worthy. The knight pauses to listen, feeling his story becoming part of something larger, part of the endless tapestry of human connection, of hearts finding their way to each other across time. The maiden's family emerges from their guarded silence, her father's stern expression softening into something approaching warmth, her mother's protective frown melting into cautious optimism. They've watched, they've judged, they've weighed his character against their daughter's precious heart, and slowly, carefully, they begin to nod. Their acceptance, the most valuable approval of all, the blessing that transforms a suitor into family, a stranger into son. Friends and neighbors gather in doorways, not to gossip or judge, but to witness something beautiful. There's profound comfort in being surrounded by familiar faces, by people who've known you since childhood. Their approval carries weight because it comes from understanding, from having watched you grow, from knowing your heart's true nature. Their smiles feel like coming home, like being welcomed into a circle of acceptance and belonging. The entire emotional landscape transforms. Where once there was tension, now flows relief. Where doubt lived, confidence takes root. The knight and maiden both feel the shift, like storm clouds parting to reveal clear skies. The community's approval doesn't just validate their love, it creates space for it to grow, removes obstacles that seemed insurmountable, and replaces them with support, with blessing, with the promise of celebration rather than resistance. Hearts begin preparing for what comes next. There's a sense of anticipation building, like the moment just before dawn, when darkness starts to yield. The community's approval has set something in motion, something beautiful and inevitable. You can feel it in the air, in the way people walk, a little lighter, smile a little brighter, as if they're all part of something magical, all witnesses to love's quiet triumph. A deep sense of completion settles over everything like the final notes of a perfect song. The knight's journey has been witnessed, judged, and blessed. The community's approval creates a bridge between courtship and commitment, between hoping and knowing. There's profound beauty in this moment, in feeling held by the love of others, in knowing your story matters, in sensing that something wonderful is about to unfold. something worthy of all this patient, gentle waiting. Chapter 14, Binding Hearts. The morning sun filters through stained glass windows, casting jeweled light across the cathedral floor. Today marks the culmination of our lovers' journey, where knight and lady will speak vows that echo through centuries. Bells chime softly in the distance, calling witnesses to gather. The air carries anticipation, hope, and the sweet fragrance of spring blossoms. This is their moment, their binding of hearts, customs, and shared dreams beneath heaven's watchful gaze. Within the stone walls, garlands of white roses and ivy drape every pillar. Candles flicker like stars against the ancient architecture. Guests arrive in their finest silks and velvets, their voices a gentle murmur of blessing and celebration. Children scatter flower petals along the aisle, their laughter mixing with the soft melodies of lutes and harps. The very stones seem to pulse with joy, anticipating the sacred words that will unite two souls in the eternal dance of love. Our knight stands at the altar, his hands steady despite the magnitude of this moment. Gone is the armor of war, replaced by robes of deep blue silk. His eyes search the great doors, waiting for his beloved. The priest beside him speaks in hushed Latin, blessing the rings that will soon encircle their fingers. Around them, the community gathers, lords and ladies, merchants and craftsmen, all united in witness to love's triumph over trial. The great doors open slowly, and there she appears. Our Lady steps into the cathedral like morning light breaking through darkness. Her gown flows like liquid silver, adorned with pearls that catch the candlelight. Her father beside her beams with pride and gentle sorrow, for today he gives away his daughter to the man who proved worthy of her heart. Each step she takes echoes softly against stone, marking time toward their sacred union. Their eyes meet across the sacred space, and in that moment, all the trials, all the tests, all the waiting melts away. He sees in her face the same love that sustained him through dark nights of doubt. She sees in his gaze the devotion that conquered every obstacle. The priest's voice rises in blessing, but their silent exchange speaks louder than any words. Hearts recognizing hearts, souls calling to souls across the thin veil between earth and heaven. The ceremony unfolds like a sacred dance, hands joined, vows spoken in voices that tremble with emotion. He promises to shield her from life's storms. She pledges to stand beside him through all seasons. The rings slide onto waiting fingers, circles of gold that mirror the endless nature of their commitment. Witnesses lean forward, moved by the sincerity of these promises. Love transforms not just the couple, but everyone who beholds its power. The priest raises his hands in final blessing. His voice carries across stone and timber, declaring them united before God and community. Candles flicker as if in celebration. The cathedral bells begin their joyous peal. Our lovers turn to face their people as husband and wife, her smile radiant as dawn, his expression one of humble gratitude. They have crossed the threshold from courtship into the deeper mystery of marriage, two becoming one while remaining beautifully themselves. They walk together down the aisle, not as the separate souls who entered, but as a new creation. Witnesses rise in waves of applause. Rose petals rain down like gentle snow. Children run ahead, clearing their path with laughter and song. Outside the cathedral doors, the entire village waits, for this union belongs not just to two hearts, but to the whole community who nurtured their love, who celebrated their trials, and now rejoice in their triumph. The great feast begins in the castle courtyard. Tables groan under platters of roasted meats, fresh bread, and honey cakes. Wine flows like liquid gold in crystal goblets. Musicians strike up melodies that make even the oldest guests remember their own young love. Our bride and groom sit at the high table, their fingers intertwined, their faces glowing with the special light that comes only from dreams fulfilled. The celebration stretches toward evening's embrace. Stories flow as freely as the wine. Guests share tales of the couple's courtship, how he first saw her at the tournament, how she tended his wounds with gentle hands, how they weathered separation and doubt. Each memory becomes a thread in the tapestry of their legend, for already their love story has become something more than personal history. It has become a beacon for all who believe in love's transforming power. As twilight approaches, the newlyweds share their first dance as husband and wife. Her gown swirls around them like captured starlight. His strong arms guide her through steps as old as time. Other couples join them on the courtyard stones, generations dancing together, grandparents remembering their own wedding nights, young lovers glimpsing their possible futures. The dance becomes a prayer, a celebration of love's eternal rhythm through human hearts. The castle chaplain raises his cup in final toast. His voice carries over the gathering dusk. May your love be modern enough to survive the times and old-fashioned enough to last forever. Glasses clink like tiny bells across the courtyard. Laughter mingles with tears of joy, for everyone present knows they have witnessed something sacred, a reminder that in a world often harsh and uncertain, love remains our truest magic, our most precious inheritance. Torches are lit as night settles over the celebration. Their flames dance like captured spirits, casting warm light on faces flushed with wine and happiness. Our couple steals quiet moments between the revelry, whispering promises meant only for each other, planning the life they will build together, the children they hope to raise, the legacy of love they will leave, their whispered dreams joining the chorus of celebration around them. The last guests depart under stars that seem unusually bright, carrying with them the memory of this perfect day. Servants clear the tables with smiles, for they too have been touched by the magic. Our lovers stand together in the castle courtyard, alone at last, her head resting against his shoulder, his arms encircling her waist. The night air carries the scent of roses and the promise of tomorrow. Their journey as husband and wife begins. In the quiet after celebration, they climb the stone steps to their chamber, each footfall echoing softly in the castle corridors. Moonlight streams through tall windows, illuminating tapestries that tell stories of other lovers, other victories. They have become part of something larger than themselves, woven into the great tapestry of human love. Their story now legend, their love now legacy for generations yet to be born. And so ends this chapter of binding hearts, where two souls became one, where customs merged and communities celebrated, where love triumphed over every test and trial. Their story joins the eternal chorus of lovers who dared to believe, who fought for their dreams, who found in each other a home worth every struggle. May their example light the way for all who seek love's sacred mystery. Good night and dream well. Chapter 15, Love Eternal. As twilight falls across the medieval landscape, we come to the end of our journey through time. The echoes of courtship traditions still whisper in the evening breeze. Here, in this quiet moment, all the threads of our story weave together, the trials, the triumphs, the tender gestures that shaped hearts centuries ago. Our knight and his beloved stand as testament to something far greater than themselves, love that transcends the boundaries of time itself. Think back to where we began, a world of rigid customs and elaborate rituals, where love had to find its way through layers of tradition, yet beneath the surface of every ceremony, every symbolic gift, every test of devotion, beat the same human heart we recognize today. The knight who trembled before his first tournament, the lady who carefully chose each thread in her favor, their emotions as real and raw as any lovers today. The tournaments were never really about strength or skill. They were stages where vulnerability met courage, where a knight laid his fears bare before the one who held his heart. Each joust carried the weight of unspoken words, each victory a love letter written in sweat and determination. The crowd's cheers faded into background noise when eyes met across the field. In that moment, only two souls mattered in all the world. Remember the language of flowers, how a single rose could carry messages too precious for words, the careful selection of colors, the timing of their presentation. These weren't mere customs, but poetry made tangible. Lovers spoke in petals and stems, weaving stories of devotion through nature's alphabet. Even now, centuries later, we understand this silent conversation, the universal grammar of the heart that needs no translation across time or culture. The courtly love letters, oh, those precious scrolls that traveled dangerous roads and crossed enemy lines, each one a tiny rebellion against the constraints of their world, words that poured from hearts too full to contain their feelings. The careful script, the pressed flower tucked between pages, the seal that trembled under nervous fingers. These letters carried not just messages, but pieces of souls, fragments of eternity, preserved in ink and parchment. Our beloved's embroidered favor wasn't just fabric and thread, it was a talisman woven with hopes, dreams, and whispered prayers. Every stitch held intention, every pattern told a story. When she placed it in her knight's hands, she gave him more than her colors to wear. She gave him her trust, her faith, her heart wrapped in silk. And when he carried it into battle, he carried her love as his armor. The castle gardens witnessed their stolen moments, brief encounters between duty and desire, where formal greetings gave way to lingering glances, where fingers might brush as they walked among the roses. These gardens held secrets in their shadows, promises whispered to the wind. The same moonlight that blessed their tentative first kiss still shines tonight, connecting their love story to ours across the vast expanse of time. Through plague and war, famine and uncertainty, their love endured, not because it was easy, but because it was chosen again and again in every letter sent during long separations, in every prayer offered at dawn, in every tear shed in solitude. They discovered what we still learn today. That love isn't just a feeling, but a commitment, a daily choice to hold on when the world tries to pull apart. The wedding feast was more than celebration, it was the whole community witnessing and blessing their union, tables heavy with abundance, musicians filling the air with joy, faces glowing in candlelight. But beneath the pageantry, something sacred was taking place, two lives becoming one, two stories weaving together, the same sacred transformation that happens whenever two hearts choose to face the future as one, timeless and eternal. Years passed, seasons turned, their hair silvered like moonbeams, their hands became lined with wisdom, yet when they looked at each other across their great hall, the same spark flickered that first ignited in youth. Time had only deepened their connection, like wine aging in perfect conditions. Their love had grown richer, more complex, more beautiful, proof that true love doesn't fade, but transforms, becoming something even more precious. They taught their children and grandchildren the old ways, not the rigid rules, but the heart behind them, how to write love letters that matter, how to give gifts that carry meaning, how to be patient in courtship, devoted in marriage. They pass down not just traditions, but the understanding that love requires both passion and practice, both feeling and commitment, both heart and choice, generation after generation. Now their castle stands empty, stones weathered by centuries of rain and wind. But if you listen closely in the evening quiet, you might hear echoes, footsteps in the corridors, laughter in the gardens, whispered endearments in the chapel. Their love story lives on in the very walls, soaked into the mortar like sweet perfume, making this place sacred, a testament to the power of two hearts becoming one. Every tradition we've explored, every ritual, every symbol, every gesture, they all point to the same eternal truth that love is humanity's greatest treasure, more valuable than gold, more powerful than armies, more enduring than empires. It connects us across centuries, across cultures, across the vast distances that seem to separate us, reminding us that we are all part of the same beautiful, ongoing story of hearts finding their home. Perhaps you've recognized yourself in these ancient lovers, in the nervous excitement of new romance, in the comfort of established partnership, in the joy of commitment freely chosen. Their story is our story, their hopes, our hopes, their dreams, our dreams, separated by centuries, but united by the same tender human heart that beats in every chest, the same longing for connection that makes us who we are. As we close this chapter of history, we carry forward their legacy, the understanding that love is worth fighting for, worth waiting for, worth celebrating, that romance isn't frivolous, but essential, that the way we love shapes not just our own lives, but the world around us. May their story inspire you to love more deeply, more intentionally, more courageously, to write your own eternal love story. The stars that witnessed their first kiss still shine tonight, the same constellations that bless their wedding day. Look down on new lovers today, in this endless cycle of hearts finding hearts. Their love lives on, eternal, unchanging, forever echoing through the corridors of time, reminding us that some things are indeed forever, and love, true love, is the most eternal thing of all. Sleep well and dream of love.